Hello and welcome to a Masked Singer recap. It is the Feisty Five, and I just want to say that I'm so sad. It's a little melancholy that Hanson was unmasked. I mean, I just really liked knowing that they were there and that we could still talk about them. But now, you know, they're history. Sorry that they're gone, but let's break down all of the clues from the rest of the contestants. So we had Black Swan, and again, I've said this before, I think it's pretty clear that it's JoJo, the singer JoJo. But in this week's clue package, she mentions how she was in an iconic fantasy film, and the only iconic fantasy film that I found online was the mermaid movie she was in called Aquamarine. So iconic, sure, maybe to a certain class of young ladies, but it's no Star Wars, but that's fine. And not only that, she mentions being on Oprah, and I Googled it, and apparently she was on Oprah. However, I couldn't find any of the footage, so I'm just gonna hope that Wikipedia was telling the truth. And then finally, I just wanna point out one thing. It was so funny to me because Ken, he loves to come up with a dumb guess, and he guessed Dua Lipa, yes, which is just offensive. And again, she had an amazing performance. I really think she might take the crown this year. Okay, so next up was Piglet, and you know that I and everyone else on the internet thinks it's Nick Lachey. It sounds exactly like Nick Lachey. There were some pretty obvious Nick Lachey clues, which again, there were some more obvious Nick Lachey clues. This week's clue package, which each of the Masked Singers had to talk about like their idol, and the Piglet was like, my idol is Bruce Willis. And I'm sure you're thinking, what? Well, I Googled Nick Lachey, Bruce Willis, and according to IMDb, Bruce Willis is Nick Lachey's like hero. And then not only that, but Piglet had his post-performance clue letter, which he mentions several words that I linked to Nick Lachey. And I actually did this all by memory, which is really a sad realization for me. But anyway, he talks about being discovered in the 90s, which could mean either literally discovered in the 90s, which Nick Lachey was, or maybe it has something to do with the band 98 Degrees. Another phrase is public relationship, and I think this could relate to Jessica Simpson, Nick's ex-wife. She came out with a song called Public Affair after their divorce, so maybe that's a reference to that. And then finally, there was a random PS on the letter. It was like, I drew your picture. And Nick has a brother named Drew Lachey. So Drew drew your picture. I don't know. I think it could mean Drew Lachey. So it's pretty clear to me and to everyone else who's watching that this is Nick Lachey. So next up was Yeti, and if you've been watching this series, you know that I think it is Omarion. And this week, in the clue package, the Yeti said that Diddy was his idol and inspiration, and he also mentioned working with Diddy. And Omarion was in the boy band B2K, and Diddy worked with them on their song Bump Bump Bump. So I think that clue obviously matches up. And then also in the post-performance letter, the Yeti is mentioned as a triple/quadruple threat. And if you know anything about Omarion, you know he is obviously a singer. He's a dancer. He's also an actor. Remember the Corn Pops commercial? And he's also been in other stuff. And then also he's a songwriter. So I think that definitely lines up. Okay, and then we have Chameleon. I'll be honest with you, it's so obvious to me that Chameleon is Wiz Khalifa. At this point, it's just like, okay, great. We know it's him. It sounds exactly like him. And again, we had another clue kind of relating to Snoop Dogg, where he talked about being Martha Stewart's friend, and Wiz Khalifa was on Martha and Snoop's cooking show. So clearly he knows Martha Stewart. He's her friend. The Chameleon also mentioned that he is not a singer in his clue package. And if you've been watching this show for the past however many weeks, he has yet to sing a song. He's been rapping the entire time, so that also seems to fit. And again, I mean, if you have been listening, you know that Chameleon is Wiz Khalifa. And here are my guesses for this week. Again, thank you so much for watching. We are in the home stretch. We're almost done with The Masked Singer. Make sure you are subscribed to The Ringer, and we will see you back here next week.